AI in today's world cannot replicate human empathy. AI can repeat a script, but how AI repeats the script and the human connection like we have right now on this call, it can't replicate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I am joined by a very special guest to talk about the topic that it's often talked about, but rarely in tandem. That being artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence. So, welcome to the program, Alan.
Thank you. I am very glad to be here.
So Alan's got quite a distinguished career already under his belt, with being currently Chief People and Diversity Officer, Deputy Chief Global Compliance Officer, and is responsible for global human resources, learning development, talent acquisition, total rewards, ethics, and global compliance at your current organization, which is Teleperformance, the Teleperformance, group. So maybe start with you giving us a touch bit of information about Teleperformance Group, or TP, as you often refer to the organization.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, if you would have asked me the question about what TPE is or who we are a few years ago, we would have said we're in the business process outsourcing business, or we handle customer service, call center interactions for our clients. In today's world, we say we're in the digital transformation and customer experience business because of what we're doing with AI and the development we're using for our clients. But to give you an idea of our size and scope, which is important to understand why we're implementing emotional intelligence in the world of AI. So we have 490,000 plus or minus employees around the world. We operate in 100 countries. We serve over 170 countries. 35% of our workforce is still work at home, and they'll stay about that globally, depending on the requirements of our clients and the role of the people play. But to give you an idea of scope, so if you think about 490,000 of our employees, about 85% or so are those who are frontline customer experts that are interacting with our clients' customers every day through various channels. Globally, we interact with 8 billion people a year on behalf of our clients. So really large scale external interactions. And then internally with ourselves, one-on-ones, coachings, etc., we interact about 22 million plus or minus interactions a year, or 55,000 a day of interactions like we're having right now with our people. So emotional intelligence in the world of AI and coaching is critical to our success, and frankly, one of our differentiators in our industry.
Yeah, as you were quoting those numbers, my head started spinning. These millions and billions and growing. I'm sure growing because of the nature of your organization, but also what's not true for every organization there is. You have such a global reach, which also means different cultural norms, different customs, different expectations. I can imagine that come from your clients, but I can only think of the same coming from your employees.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I mean, basically, if you think of, we're in 100 countries, so we have 100 different cultures, which we actually nurture purposefully or intently because we want our people to feel comfortable in our operations. But having said that, especially if you think about emotional intelligence and coaching, the beauty of that is the one thing that every culture has in common is we're all human. We all have emotions, and we make decisions based on our emotions. So that kind of levels the playing field with our program in how we're approaching this, because we're approaching people as people, not people as a country or an individual culture.
Yeah. So for our viewers, I met Alan earlier this year in Lisbon, Portugal, at the HR World Summit. And Alan was keynoting the event with the presentation titled "The Human Power of Emotional Intelligence and AI." As you can imagine, with that title, there was the standing room only in a room, and Alan took us through a journey that TP was undergoing. Still is, I guess, right? You're deep into implementation and actually measuring success. But can you briefly take us through the reason you did what you did? How did you come up with that? You, to some extent, the answer is already with that connection between EI and AI, and where did it take you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically, if you think about, and I think this goes for any company in the world today, regardless of size, we're all struggling with what does AI really mean? What is the technology? And more importantly, how do I use that technology in my business? So for us, I don't make a product. My product is a service our people deliver to our clients, customers, right? So if you think about from that perspective, and you, especially in the customer experience industry, there's lots of, over the past 24 months or so, hype around AI is going to eliminate the human experience,
Yeah.
going to replace the human, and et cetera. And there are some cases where that AI can actually drive more efficiency and opportunity. But for us, because we're a people-focused company, and AI in today's world cannot replicate human empathy. AI can repeat a script, but how AI repeats the script and the human connection like we have right now on this call, it can't replicate. So connection like we have right now on this call, it can't replicate. So if you think about that perspective, and I have 8 billion interactions a year, I need to figure out how do we take the power of AI and arm our human workforce with that information to provide that empathetic interaction to solve whatever the customer's issues are, and do that in the right manner. So that was the impetus of why we are doing what we're doing. And then we basically took the entire employee life cycle, from how we source and recruit, how do we train, how do we motivate, how do we coach, how do we drive performance, et cetera, all the way through exit. How do we overlay both the power of AI with data to deliver to our people at the right time, at the right place, to provide better service? And that's both internally as an HR team, how do I deliver that service to my people? And for my people, how do they deliver that service to our clients' customers? So it's important that we integrated both of those within our employee experience,
Right.
differentiator, but for a better outcome. And it's preparing us to be ready for what the future may bring from an AI perspective.
So when you first came up, I'm sure it was not an overnight idea. It probably took a little while to put it together and to design it. I'm sure there was some resistance. These days there always is when we talk about AI, specifically to the reasons you already mentioned. But was it difficult to sell to the powers that be at the company? And conversely, how did the employees reacted to it?
Yeah, both really good questions. We are so very lucky to have a very forward-thinking CEO, Danielle Julian, who actually started the company almost 50 years ago, as well as our deputy CEO, Thomas McEnbrough. Both of them actually 100% believe in this program, and frankly, they were leading the charge. So thankfully, that tone was set from the very top in the organization.
That's
So
great.
not a lot of resistance other than time and cost and how we implement the program, but that's with it with any large project.
Absolutely.
How our people reacted. So the approach we've taken is we packaged this program and we go to many of our large countries and have a 2-day session with our executive team in each country and walk them through the overall program. After those 2 days, the feedback we get is, thank God, we love this. where you're recognizing we're human, you're giving us real tools to understand how we react emotionally, and how do we then change those reactions based on whatever the individual situations are to drive a better outcome. And that can be, again, interacting with our clients' customers, or internally from a coaching session, I'm dealing with a difficult problem or person, and how do I approach that? How do I understand their emotions, my emotions? How do I then use the tools we're training to make a change for a more positive outcome?
Well, you mentioned coaching twice already, so I can't help but ask, what still is a role of coaching within your organization in implementation and maintenance, of course, of this program, but in general, because it is very clear that your organization TP does exemplify what we would call coaching culture within. So if you could share with us a little bit how coaching came about and how do you utilize it now?
Yeah, it's a good question as well. Let me set a little foundation, because I think the context of this is going to be important to answer your question. In our business, in most businesses, I would argue, if someone talked about coaching, it would be an interaction performance-wise. You're at A, you need to be at B, and you have to be at B within a certain time period. Otherwise, I'll put you on a performance plan or termination, or whatever the issue is.
Yeah, remedial.
We looked at that, on how that was really that model, and then really turned it on its head to say, and actually using ICF definition, if you think about coaching, it's a relationship, it's a two-way street. Both parties have to be really actively engaged and involved, and both parties have a role to play in whatever the topic of the coaching situation or outcome needs to be. So our training, again, and we partner with 6 Seconds, a company that is certified for you guys on coaching, to help develop programs where we're actually taking our people through a coaching training session. When do you use coaching? When do you use mentoring? When do you use, and there's a difference between each one of those, and you can't intermingle the two, right? So why that's important is, for us, our business and we're a people business, so we get things done through our people. And one of the ways you do that is through a positive coaching and trusting environment, which is where the emotional intelligence piece comes in, to really drive a change and get people. When you're asked to go to a coaching session, you're excited about it because it's an opportunity for improvement. You're not worried that you're going to be put on a performance plan because of what the old way of coaching, as an example. And for us, that's a huge differentiator and a huge engine to drive improvement internally and with our clients based on the approach.
Most definitely. Do you, and I apologize, I do not remember, do you, I know that you use external coaches. Do you also offer services of internal coaches, or you do?
So when we launched the program, we were using 6 Seconds and their ICF certified coaches, both at the executive level and then mid-manager level, and there are different experiences, based on the type of coaching between those two groups. But at the same time, we also launched the 12-month certification program. So I actually now have, just last week, when we launched last year, we had 12 coaches that actually just this week met the number of coaching hours to go into the certification process. By the time we're done, I'll have well over 100 certified coaches, all at the availability of we have a manager and above 85,000 managers and above globally. So these coaches will be 100% dedicated. Their only role is to work with our management team to help them in their one-on-ones, coaches or coaching sessions, or whatever the issues are, to help them in delivering the service to their people. So we're doing both external and internal.
That's great. That's another element. If you ask For ICF definition of coaching culture, using both internal and external coaching is certainly a good signal of a very well-designed program. Now,
the other thing you would add to that is, because I think this is also pretty interesting, we've also dedicated 5 hours per year per executive, in our case it's EVP and above, which is going to be about 100 or so people, where they're getting very specific, dedicated executive coaching. And we did that because they're the ones that have to lead by example. So if they're getting that exposure and experience and then utilizing that, it'll trickle down through the organization, because this cannot be I'm asking my frontline people to do something different that I'm not asking ourselves to do internally, right? And it's critical, that approach, to really drive a true culture change.
Absolutely. And I think that's not surprising, but you entered this entire initiative with the very nicely designed change management program, because it's massive. And as we said, AI is scary to some. It's not inexpensive to introduce program like that. So it is only natural that you must have certain measure of success that you're after. So I know that there are certain KPIs that you have for the program. So let me ask, did it work? Did it work?
It does. So, it's interesting how we positioned our KPIs, or measuring their ROI on the program. We've separated 2 main categories, and this also is part of our change management and culture evolution, we're calling it. And we have 2 major categories. One's called managing from the heart, and one's called service from the heart. And service from the heart is the service that our people deliver to our clients' customers. And we're measuring that through client satisfaction scores and several other metrics that we look at to see how our clients are perceiving the service we deliver to our people. And then just as important, managing from the heart is actually measuring the service that me as a manager or leader provides to our people. We're doing that through how we're looking at early hire attrition and annual attrition, and our sentiment, employee engagement scores, our great place to work activity, which we utilize. And then we've worked with Great Place to Work to develop a new metric from that survey called the EI index score. So what are our people telling us about our emotional intelligence program? Do they feel psychologically safe? Are they raise issues? That sort of stuff. And then we're actually also looking at correlation of more hard metrics like average handle time or occupancy and attendance and scheduled adherence and things you normally measure in an operational setting, to see if there's a correlation with the people that have already gone through this program to those that have not yet. And we're actually seeing a high correlation where we're seeing some of our key metrics in attrition and employee sat and others increase after our people have gone through the program. And we're now for our phase 1 countries, we're about 8 or 9 months into the implementation, and those countries are performing above the countries we've not launched yet. And by the end of this year, we'll have about 80% of our group covered, and by mid next year, we'll be close to 100% of our population covered under the program.
That's massive. That's massive.
So tired all the time.
That's right. But to little joke here, but this is why TP is such an amazing case study, because especially implementing programs of that scale, this is not easy. You mentioned already several elements that are critical from our research perspective. One, having executive sponsorship. And it seems that you have it in spades, and that already is half of a success.
It is.
Second, changing the mindset about coaching from remedial to actually building performance and professional development, if you will. Two, very, very thoughtful change management process and solid measurement. I think that these are the all elements of a successful program, and the one that as I said, can become a case study and maybe some kind of an inspiration to other organizations to do that. So I know you're not quite done with the implementation with the certain geographies still not being included. Any major surprises or lessons learned? But both oops and yay. Anything that maybe even for you as a manager of that program, anything that surprised you and either gave you a big smile or kind of scratch on the head?
Yeah, there's a couple actually. One is the feedback we've received so far is it's almost like our people have been thirsty for this type of a program. So the feedback we've got is thank you for doing this, and I'm glad we're doing it now, but we wish we would have had this earlier. Right. So what that would tell me is, especially through our internal employee engagement process, I need to be thinking and listening a little bit differently to our people. If this was an opportunity, but I wasn't able to get that from our historical, right? So that's why we added some changes to our engagement strategy and what we did with Great Place to Work on the EI Trust
Index.
To give me a better data to make decisions faster. And then the other one I would say is, and I don't know if this is frankly good or bad. It is what it is. I think because when you go through a program like this, once you get the fear of AI out of the way and how we're utilizing it, and then we're just talking about the emotional intelligence aspect, when you go through the assessments and how do you normally respond and how your brain thinks and that sort of thing, and everyone's different, of course, we believe that EI is an innate skill everyone has. We just have to create what we call the EI touchpoint moments to let people practice it, which is part of the coaching methodology and why we chose ICF. But we're seeing people self-select out because they get a little fearful, because asking someone to manage from an emotional perspective is very different than manage pure logic or cut and dry. And not everyone likes that.
Sure.
And so, which is perfectly fine, because if this is where we're going, we want people to understand why and be able to adapt. But if you can't adapt, that's perfectly fine. That just means we may not be the right place for you. Why I say that, that's not a huge number, but we have had people, when I've done the launches in the countries, and we've done 18 countries so far, that's some of the feedback I've gotten where people just feel, wow, that's not
for me. Yeah.
But I actually view that's a positive, because they're self-selecting versus me having to do the opposite, right?
No, that's actually very mature of them to be able to observe it, name it, and take action. That's awesome. Sometimes, we also see in organizations that are offering coaching, and this is becoming a benefit. Sometimes a mandate, but often a benefit to the employees. Employees got intrigued with coaching itself, and they want to become coaches. Did you observe any of that in your organization?
Oh yeah, I have a long line of people that want to sign up to become an ICF certified coach, because in our business, the way we approach it, this is actually, we created a new position and a real job description. And it's a full-time job. It's not part-time for us.
Part-time. It's not
at all. We have a lot of people that are queued up to raise their hand saying, I love this. I want to go through the program, and I want my career to be an internal coach for TP. So lots of excitement, lots of engagement, because I think it's for the right person. I'm sure you know this from your organization. Not everyone is going to wants to be a certified coach, but those that want to be, it's super exciting for them and very rewarding for them to go through the process and become a coach.
Yeah, I think that another aspect that we sometimes see, and sometimes it's structured and sometimes it just happens. Like you mentioned that the your executives receive coaching, so many hours of executive coaching. We call it a little bit of a ripple effect of coaching. When you are on the receiving end, there is something that stays with you a little bit, maybe different tone, and maybe a little greater curiosity. So I think that it also helps build a culture of managing and leading with the coaching perspective, which actually you have a better language for it, right, with the heart.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if this is something that you're observing as well.
It is. And so what's interesting is, again, if you think about emotional intelligence, we're all human. We all make decisions based on our emotions. And EI is within all of us innately. I think the coaching aspect naturally brings that out, because what
Right.
you learn through the process, and I know, I'm sure you would agree, half the time in coaching is listening to what the person is saying and giving them, assuming you have built the trust in that environment, but giving them the opportunity to say what they want to say. And although sometimes it can be uncomfortable, having those long pauses to let people interact, and the body language, the eye contact, the movement in the engagement, all of that lets it removes those walls that people build up, and you feel okay. Yeah, I have an emotion, and I'm gonna discuss it, or have a problem. And a lot of people, especially what we're seeing at the executive level, this is naturally how you interact. And so this is giving them the, okay, it's okay to do that, whether it's through the coaching session process, certification process, or through emotional intelligence.
Yeah, that's great. That sounds, it's again, that this just case study in making, absolutely, because it has, well, first of all, congratulations, big idea. Not all big ideas come to fruition. Not big ideas, even when they come to fruition, bring the results that are desired or expected. So big congratulations to TP and the whole team, and you, of course, for running it. And yet again, as always, we are running it to the very end of our time together. Anything else, Alan, that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would just say this one thing, because I think it's super impactful, especially when you're coaching, is to remember, emotions are not a bad thing. Emotions are data signals that are being sent to your brain. And the idea is to understand that, not push it down, understand, accept, and then make a change. It's called the 6-second pause, right? Where you stop, understand, digest, and then change whatever the environment is. I would just say, don't be afraid of that. That's extremely powerful if you can do that, because of the trust and engagement it builds with your team. Whether you're a coach, whether you're a leader, whether you're a manager, doesn't matter. We all are human, and we interact the same way. And understanding how that interaction happens to drive a better outcome.
That's great. That's fantastic. And thank you for that. The other statement that you made at the beginning of our conversation that I hope our listeners will remember is that don't be afraid of AI. Use it to the best,
exactly,
most effective and efficient solution for whatever your business might be. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. They're not replacing us, right?
Exactly.
That's
exactly right. Exactly.
Well, Alan, thank you so very much. You guys can see how you can contact Alan on LinkedIn, and fascinating conversation again. Congratulations to TP and you and your team.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the conversation and look forward to working with you guys even more. So thank you so much.
Thank you.